Hello, everyone. My name is Joe Deegan. I am Public Policy Chair with the West Virginia Association of Alcoholism and Drug Abuse Counselors. And today we are having a presentation entitled Advocacy 101 for Recovery Month in West Virginia. We've been working on committees during planning for Recovery Month, and this is one of the activities that we promised to have recorded so that people who are out there in the community, have questions a lot of times. How do I approach the West Virginia State Legislature? How do I, it's a threatening activity for a lot of people because they don't really know how to approach their legislator. So we wanted to do this today to basically allow for people to have some practical exchange and learning experience around how do you approach your legislators. Hallie Mason is with the Mason Consulting, and she's been our advocacy lobbyist with the West Virginia Association of Alcoholism and Drug Abuse Counselors for several years. And she offered today to step up and provide this training. Recovery Month, you can find out more information about Recovery Month on the Healthy Connections Facebook page and on the Help and Hope WV webpage for more information about other activities that are going on throughout the whole month of September 2020. So I will turn it over now to Hallie, and we'll do a presentation, and then we'll probably do a little exchange at the end, just amongst ourselves about the practical things that we've actually dealt with the legislature. Turn it over to you, Hallie.
Great. Thank you, Joe, so much. Thank you for having me today. I'm excited to talk about the legislature, the legislative process, and really the practical information for you is how to approach your legislators. Before we talk about approaching a legislator, though, let's talk just a few minutes about advocacy. Advocacy is from Latin for voice, and it's the process of influencing the public's attitude towards a specific issue or group. And the best advocates clearly are people who are passionate and knowledgeable about an issue. And so you are passionate and knowledgeable about the world in which you work and your life experience. And so you are a perfect advocate to go to a legislator and help them understand issues that they may not be very familiar with. Advocacy is individual driven. It's based on relationships, and it utilizes your individual strength. So why do we want to advocate? Well, first and foremost, the American legislative system demands it. Our First Amendment to the Constitution guarantees our right to petition the government. Legislators who are elected officials cannot be experts in everything. They have jobs, they have life experience, but they want to understand their constituents and understand that there's a broad policy issue base out there with which they have little experience. So you have the topical expert power. No one else can give policymakers the frontline information you have, and you're the expert on what you do. And it's important to remember that if you don't get engaged and your neighbor doesn't or your coworker, then who will? No one else will do this for you. I am a paid lobbyist. I've been around the Capitol for many years, but it's important for you to understand, and I understand this as well, that legislators listen to their constituents more than lobbyists. They have that connection. They know they represent you. They know that you vote for them. And so, of course, it's important for me to be at the Capitol representing you every day, keeping a pulse on what's going on and reporting back to your board so that they know. But when it comes to truly swaying legislators' votes, they will often do what their constituents ask over what a lobbyist would ask. And so you have a very important role in influencing public policy here in West Virginia. So let's talk about what that looks like practically. Um, if I wanted to, as a citizen, approach a legislator, I should, of course, number one, do my homework. I need to identify who my legislators are. Who do I want to talk to, whether it be you or and then list of who they are and their name and their contact. Am I going to call them or text them? I'll get their phone number and also their email address. Second, it's important to have a plan. Are you going to go to the Capitol to their office? Are you going to contact them at their home? Do you need an appointment to go see them at the Capitol? Or will you go to the Capitol and seek them out in the hallways? So plans, of course, aren't always 100% foolproof, but it's important to say, okay, this is how I think I'm most comfortable approaching my legislator. And there are many different ways to do that. Third is be confident. You know your topic. They're going to ask you questions and you are going to be able to answer those questions, or it's always okay to say, I don't know, but I'll get back to you on that. So when you do make that phone call or send an email or go to their office, I encourage you to, of course, identify yourself and let them know if you are a constituent. A lot of times people want to launch into their concerns without saying, hey, I live down the street from you, or I live in your district. So legislators always appreciate you pointing that out. First, provide a brief introduction of your issue. For example, say, I'd like to speak to you about House Bill 4003, the telehealth insurance requirement bill, just so they can think, okay, I'm familiar with that bill, or, ooh, I don't know much about this, I'm going to really listen. Second, briefly explain your concern. Saying, I'm concerned this bill will have a negative effect, or I'm in support of this bill. Third, I encourage you to have an elevator speech prepared. An elevator speech is a short, highly focused way of sharing your message. If you're catching a legislator in the hallway or even in their office, they may not have a half hour to talk to you. So if you have thought through your message and you have a concise way to convey that, it will help you help them. Deliver your elevator speech and see if the legislator then has questions. They may want clarification, they may need more information, and then you can further engage. But remember, you want to say, here's who I am, here's my concern, here's a bit about it. How can I be a resource to you? Now, the most important when you're finished talking to your legislator is to ask for some specific action. Please vote for this bill. Please vote against this bill. There are many different things you can ask for. You can ask for an amendment. You can speak in favor, ask them to speak in favor at a public hearing. You can ask them to introduce a bill. Now, if you're with the association on lobbying day, in the morning, there's often a time where there's a group discussion about, okay, here's our ask for the day, here's what we'd like to do. So you'll have an ask if you should go up with the association. If not, talk to the leaders of your association. Say, hey, I'm going up to the Capitol. What's our ask? What should I be prepared to do today? Now, let's talk about legislators. Who are they? Of course, on the federal level in Washington, D.C., West Virginia has 2 U.S. senators and 3 congresspeople who also have offices here in the state. But this presentation today is really focusing on our state legislature, the folks who meet in Charleston 2 months a year. At the state legislature, we have 134 members. 100 are House members who have 2-year terms, and 34 are Senate members who have 4-year terms. Of course, you remember from your civics class, you also have local city and county officials. And really, your advocacy skills that we're talking about today can be used with any of these groups, from federal down to local. But again, today we're going to focus on the folks at the Capitol. So Just generally, to give you a little background, state legislatures are classified as full-time and part-time. In West Virginia, we do have a part-time legislature. They receive a low compensation, only $18,000 a year for doing that. So they need to have another income, right? They go home, they spend time in their district, and they have another job. They have very small staffs, if they have any staff at all. And they're often referred to as citizen legislatures because citizen legislatures are found in the smallest population in rural states. Now, just so you know, full-time legislatures, like in northern states, Pennsylvania, Ohio, New York, have large staffs. They make quite a bit of money, and so that can be their only job. And they're full-time. So remember, when you're dealing with part-time legislators, they're home in your district. They're often easy to track down because they're in your neighborhoods, and they have a life just like you. So they're thinking most of the time during the day about their jobs, but then they can always switch to talk about issues with you. So how do you locate them? The West Virginia legislative website is the easiest way to identify and locate your local legislators. The website is wvlegislature.gov, and there is a variety of information at that site. The best way at the website is to start trying to identify who your legislators are. I'm going to attempt to share screen and pull up the website. So bear with me. Okay. All right. Joe, I'm going to go ahead and ask, can you see the legislative website?
Yes, I can.
Great, thank you so much. I want to make sure. Okay, so this is the legislative website, West Virginia Legislature. On it, you will find House members. If you go to the House screen, you can go down to delegates. And then below, you will see all 100 listed. Listed are their district numbers, their capital addresses, and their email addresses. On the Senate side, you've got your senators. All 34 are listed. But again, how do I find my legislator? There is a spot on the website. I'm going to show you that here. Okay, if you go to House District Maps, this will show all of the maps, the state broken into their maps. And we'll start with the Senate map. Under these district maps, you will find your voter registration information. So if you want to click on that, type in your first name. I'll go ahead and do mine, Hallie Mason, birthday, and you submit. You will be able to see where you're registered, your precinct, and your district information. Your House legislators are mine are House District 35, and in the Senate, District 17. So that arms me with information to be able to go back to the website and say, all right, I'm in District 17, and I can see on the map, it's right here, Kanawha County. And I can go down to District 17 on the maps and see that my senators are listed here. And I can click on either one and it will take me to their webpage. And so that's the quickest and best way. Instead of trying to look at a map and figure out where you might fall in the map and where your house is, just go to the legislative website, type in your information, and you'll have it right there. It also shares with you your polling place. And I wanted to let you know, to vote in the next election this November, you must register 21 days before the date of the election. And so you still have plenty of time if you'd like to do that. This year's general election is November 3rd, and you can register to vote online at the West Virginia Secretary of State's office. All right, let's talk a little bit more about the web page since I have it up. No, actually, I'm going to come back. All right. On the website, you can not only track down your legislator, but you can also connect to audio and video links. Not everything is the same in the House and the Senate. The Senate has audio and video of their meetings, and video of their committee meetings is saved. And so you can research their archives and go back and watch old meetings. However, in the House, they do provide a video feed of their floor session and audio feeds of their committee meetings, but there is nothing that is archived. So I encourage you during the legislative session to go ahead and get online, check out some of the meetings, listen in. If you want to come down to a certain committee, you can listen into that, learn the cadence of a meeting. Obviously, people aren't allowed to speak at meetings until they're recognized. And so those are the little things you'll pick up as you listen to committee meetings. All right, so when do I advocate with a legislator? It's important to work on your relationships with legislators year-round in your community. Just with anyone, you always would prefer to make requests when you have more of a relationship than just cold calling someone and asking for them to do something. The 60-day legislative session is from normally January to March. And of course, legislators spend most of their time in Charleston. But again, they're part-time legislators. They're at home in your community most of the year. And so there's nothing wrong with reaching out to them, calling the numbers that are provided on the legislative website, their home numbers. They often provide a cell number or a way for you to reach them locally. Reach out to them, introduce yourself, and just begin to have a dialogue. Let them know, I would like to be a resource to you on this topic or that topic, or here's my experience. By sharing that, they're more likely to remember during the session, oh, I've got a question on this, and I know so-and-so, and they can help me determine how I want to vote or give me more information on the topic. So let's talk a little bit about the legislative process. As you know, from your civics class again, bills just don't become law very easily. It's actually harder to pass a bill than it is to introduce a bill. And the American system is built that way so that things don't change quickly, right? We don't want things changing from day to day. We want time to think about it, to understand it, to slowly make those changes. Some people compare legislation to driving a battleship, right? Or steering a battleship. You can't turn quickly, it takes time. And really, that's how the American process is set up. So legislators introduce bills and their pieces of proposed policy or law changes. They must have a legislative sponsor. So if someone has an idea and they present it to the legislator, but the legislator doesn't have an interest, just the general population can't introduce bills. Bills are processed by legislative staff and they appear on the website. You can research them by going to the bill status section of the web page and typing in a bill number, should you know it. Or there's a topical section where if you go to the bill site, you can type in alcohol and drug abuse and start tracking the bills that way. Now, if I can get back on to share a screen, we'll go through that process. All right, so we should be back on the legislative website. Bill status appears here. When you click on it, you can type in a bill number. So I mentioned 4003 earlier, the telehealth bill. And down below, It will pull up House Bill 4003. It gives you data on the bill. When was it introduced? Who are the sponsors? It's also important to know where the bill is. If you move down, you can see actions. It will say the date the bill was introduced. It always starts at the bottom. What committees it was referred to. You'll see this bill passed the Senate. It then went to the House. It went to House committees. And then it did the typical back and forth in order for both sides to work out their disagreements. And in the end, at the top of the chart, you'll see where it was approved by the governor. So all of this information is available. Actually, the state legislature has received awards for their website. It is one of the best in the country. It provides a lot of information and it's easy to get to. So I mentioned that you could search bills by topic. If you want to search all bills, over here, there's the subject. Okay. And often there are preloaded topics. If you wanted to research bills having to do with alcohol, submit. Again, often things appear that you don't expect. For example, this is talking about career development and a pay scale for the ABC inspectors. So please know that that is available for you. But do take some time, explore this site. I had mentioned also audio video. If you want to look at the Senate, under the Senate for audio video, it will take you to the chambers. You can watch them, you can listen. It's all right here at this site.
Hallie, do you mind showing like where that the Committee on Prevention and Treatment of Substance Abuse is located, even though that may change at the next legislative session?
That's a great suggestion. Let me see if I can. Okay. Are you able to see it right now? Are you able to see the legislative?
Not yet. I'm able to see, well, Legislative Live, but not that
All right.
page.
I appreciate everybody's patience with this. All right, you should be able to see it now. Let me see here.
I think it's under House, it would be.
Yes, House committees. Under the House committees, you can see the Prevention and Treatment of Substance Abuse Committee. If you click on it, it will list all the legislators on the left-hand side and outline who the chair and the members are. Also, the committee agenda will often appear on this site. And so if you click on that, you know, their last meeting was here, Thursday, February 13th, and it lists what the presentations were.
It opened up January 30th. Oh, I'm sorry.
Nope, that's okay.
But put a plug in for, you know, something that we have tried to do in the last couple of years is to actually do some education ourselves as part of the our day at the legislature, our advocacy day. And so on January on the fifth bullet down says presentation, Dr. Steve DeLisi and James Clouser from Hazel and Betty Ford. That was something that our association set up, brought those people in to educate the legislature about multiple pathways to recovery, and you know, which was one of our themes this past year. So, you know, that committee has been someone or a group of people that we have become very, very much engaged with around substance use disorder issues. And we'll put a plug in for our day at the legislature, if we're able to be live next year, February the 23rd, 2021. We will try to do another day. It may not work out because the day that we have set up for the day of the legislature may not fall on the same day that they have the committee meeting. But you know, these are things that we have tried to do in recent years that you know, afford us an opportunity where we even had lunch with legislators if they have time to come in and hear some of the stories. We've been able to have people in recovery share about their experience, strength, and hope, and so a lot of things. And this coming year, we're planning to have it identified as Recovery Day, and so we are going to invite other organizations. We have a sister organization called the Appalachian Recovery Alliance that is relatively new this year, that we're going to work with them to promote it to be a Recovery Day. And we're going to be reaching out to folks in the reentry world and other folks that have had other days at the legislature to try and have, we'll work toward this, having a day that really is like kind of a rally education day around substance use disorder issues, and that will come up in February. There'll be more information on our website and possibly the Office of Drug Control Policy. So I'll turn it back to you, Allie.
All right. Thank you, Joe. Well, I'd like to finish with a few points of legislative etiquette. Important to remember, both House and Senate members are legislators, so you can address them as delegate or senator. You can say their last name, Delegate Pushkin, Senator Plymel. You can also give them their title, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Majority Leader, Mr. President. So just make sure that when you're addressing legislators that you do around the Capitol use their title. It's important to let legislators finish their conversations with others prior to approaching them about your issue. So standing by close, waiting for your turn is fine. Just make sure if there's a group of people who are waiting to speak to the legislator that you follow the order of those who are waiting. Also, you cannot interrupt committee meetings to speak to members. Many of those committee rooms are small, and you'll find yourself sitting right behind a legislator at a table, but it's not okay to reach out to the legislator or to lean in and talk with them. Now, if they turn around and they want to speak to you, that's different, but please make sure that you're just there to watch the proceedings. Very importantly, remember, everyone wants to work for a better way. So go to the Capitol or approach your legislator with a cooperative spirit. You're here to help them. You're here to make things better. They may not agree with you, and you'll find that in some cases, but at the end of the day, everyone wants to make it better. By giving them more information, often they might not change their mind, but they are better prepared to understand the other side of the argument. Please have a pleasant attitude. That goes without saying. You can always catch more flies with honey. And so be gracious, thank them for their time. Also have patience. A lot of times legislators aren't familiar with your issue, and so they might call and ask the same question multiple times. They're just trying to understand. Use your patience. Remember that you're now one of their resources, and help guide them through what you think they need to know. Again, we talked about building relationships, but try to build your relationships year round. In these new days of video conferencing, legislators are using Microsoft Teams. They're able to engage that way. And so phone calls, text, video conferencing, everything can help you build a relationship year round, even if you aren't able to see them in person. Joe, that's all I have.
Okay, well, I'll get back on, and we'll close just having a little bit of a discussion back and forth. Another important part of Recovery Month is on September the 24th, 2020, at 4:30 p.m. We're going to have a Zoom meeting with legislators, and that information will be posted on the Healthy Connections Facebook page and the Help and Hope West Virginia website. And so that will be focusing on the West Virginia legislature. Senator or Delegate Warbach is agreed to participate, and we're presently inviting others to participate in that event. So that's one thing to watch for. And another thing that we've been able to accomplish this year is with our federal legislators. We have normally we have not gone to the national level, but with COVID-19 and the relief packages that have been coming up, we felt like there needed to be the voice regarding the opioid crisis and the substance use disorder crisis in West Virginia and across the country. The pandemic has exacerbated the epidemic that we were in the middle of, and so we really got the ear of our two senators in particular. We had a meeting with Senator Capito, with our groups, with West Virginia Alcoholism and Drug Abuse Counselors and Appalachian Recovery Alliance. And then we also had a separate meeting with Senator Manchin. And just this week, we had a meeting with Senator Manchin's staff for an hour and a half with a number of people from around West Virginia, just focused on what is needed related to the opioid crisis in the pandemic legislation that the next package that's being debated as we speak right now, when we're taping this event. So if you keep at persistence, is very, very important. I mean, we got to let them know that our voice is there, and in a kind, gracious way, be persistent. Not that our issue is the only issue on the planet, but it's a very important issue in it today. And I think that with concerted efforts of people gathering together, we can make a difference. So, I know, we've had, like I mentioned before, that day at the legislature, we consider ourselves educators, but there are particular bills at times that relate to exactly to what we do, and there's sometimes that we will actually propose legislation around numerous issues. We work closely with the Office of Drug Control Policy and try to advocate for their agenda, when it fits with what our priorities are, and most of the time they match up 100%. Recovery residences, long-term treatment, the Ryan Brown Fund are bills that have been passed in the last couple of years. And those are things that we continue to advocate for at the state level. And also we're getting more feedback about the telehealth since the COVID-19, some of the things that have worked with telehealth, we'd like to make sure that they stay in effect even after COVID-19 hopefully passes away very soon. So I think that's the important things. And on the virtual Day of Hope that they had through Marshall University the other day on the 31st, just recently, the question was asked, when's the best time to go out to the legislature? And Delegate Hornbuckle said, it's the fall. It's now. That when this is being recorded, being played out September 16th, it is this time of the year that it's good to reach out to your legislators and start educating them, because the session will be coming up at the beginning or the early part of next year. So familiarizing, engaging people right now is really the time to do it. So Hallie, any other comments that you have before we close today?
Well, some people think that the day after the election are official. Is that me? Forgive me. Joe, that'll be it, because I've got a lot of echo for some reason. Thank you.
Well, it's been good so far, but the connection to the internet sometimes waffles, I think, on almost all these kind of Zoom meetings and recordings. But I think that's it. We really appreciate, that go to our West Virginia Association of Alcoholism Drug Abuse Counselors for more information with that day at the legislature that's coming up, and trainings that are held throughout the year. And then again, Healthy Connections Facebook page and the Help and Hope West Virginia Recovery Month page. So I think we're ready to close, and thank you all very much.
Thank you.